Alright, today we will talk about rotations. Now there are two ways we can do rotations. One, using wax paper, or two, by using rotation rules. So before I talk about the rotation rules, let's use wax paper to help us discover the rules for rotation. When you are rotating something with wax paper, I have a few hints here. First, go ahead and trace out the XY axis. Just the middle part, just enough so we can see the axis. So there's my XY axis. And right here, I'm going to draw an arrow. The arrow lets me know which way goes up. Alright. Next, let's go ahead and trace out our points. Over here, we have two figures. A, B, C, D with A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. As we discussed previously, the letters without the primes, this is your pre-image. A is the original. A prime is the image, the second. So I want to trace out A, B, C, D. Here's A, here's B, here's C, and here is D. Alright. So down here I'm going to write the ordered pairs for A, B, C, D. We'll put my wax paper off to the side for now. A is at 3, 5. B is at 6, 7. C is at 9, 5. And D is at 6, 2. So back to the wax paper. Reason I drew the XY axis with the arrow is when we turn this around, we will be rotating. We can rotate three ways. Here's my original, go facing up. Rotate once to the right, to the left, 90 degrees. One more time to the left, that's 280 degrees. One more time, 270 degrees, which brings us back to the original, 360. So there are two types of rotations. We can either do counterclockwise and we have clockwise. Counterclockwise rotation goes to the left. Clockwise rotation follows the clock, goes to the right. Unless they specifically tell you which direction, we're going to assume counterclockwise. That's the default rotation. So part 1 down here is asking us, if we are to rotate counterclockwise, how many degrees, how many turns do we make for A to land on A prime? So if I turn around once, I want my XY axis that I drew to go back to the middle. My arrow is pointing to the left. That tells me I've turned one time. Starting from up here, I'm now facing to the left. That's a 90-degree rotation. And we can see our points land perfect. A, B, C, D. So let's go ahead and write the ordered pairs. A prime is at negative 5, 3. B prime is at negative 7, 6. C prime is at negative 5, 9. And D prime is at negative 2, 6. Now let's take a look at the pattern. Compare the first column of points with the second column of points. Notice anything? Hopefully you have noticed that the 3 in the front now went to the back. The 6 in the front went to the back, and so on. Next, the 5 in the front, the 5 in the back went to the front and changed signs. So positive 5 in the back became negative 5 in the front. Positive 7 in the back became a negative 7 in the front.
Can time, we're transitioning to our second session.
So this tells me the pattern is negative y, comma x. When we say negative in the rule, this means change sign. So the y goes to the front, changes signs. The x goes to the back, it keeps the sign. Now let's discover the rules for the other rotation. Next up, 180 degrees. Again, here's my original. If I turn 180 degrees, turn it one time, 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees. Turn it one more time, 90 degrees, for a total of 180 degrees. My arrow is pointing down, 180 degrees, pointing back. And we look at our new sets of points, A, B, C, D. Right here, we still have the original sets. So let me write the original back. 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 5, and 6, 2. Looking at my new sets of points, A is now at negative 3, negative 5. B is now at negative 6, negative 7. C is now at negative 9, negative 5. And D is now at negative 6, negative 2. Comparing these two sets of points, notice the pattern. The x's change signs, the y change signs. So negative x, negative y. And last up, 270 degrees. I turn one more time, facing to the right. That's 270 degrees. My A, B, C, D now go here. And my new sets of points are going back to the old, I have 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 5, 6, 2. My new sets of points, A is now at, what's this, 5, negative 3. B is now at 7, negative 6. C is now at 5, negative 9. And D is now at 2, negative 6. This time, notice the pattern. The x and the y still switch. 3 in the front is now a 3 in the back. 5 in the back is now a 5 in the front. But notice, when the x's went to the back, they all changed signs. So the pattern, y goes to the front, keeps the sign. X goes to the back, changes sign. So here are your patterns for the, let's write over here, counterclockwise rotations. These are all counterclockwise. Now let's take a look at the clockwise rotations and compare the two. For clockwise, originally pointing up, if I move 90 degrees clockwise, that means 90 degrees to the right. Notice my arrow is now facing to the right. 90 degrees clockwise, there's 90 degrees, is the same as 270 degrees counterclockwise, would also get me there. So for clockwise, let's write our patterns out. (90 degrees) and 80 degrees and 270 degrees. Going 90 this direction is the same as going 90 or 270 the other way. So 90 clockwise is the same as 270 counterclockwise. Y negative x. Up here, going 180 degrees this way, clockwise, is the same as going 180 degrees counterclockwise. So pattern here stays the same. And for the last part, looking at my pencil, going 270 degrees, and it's me pointing to the left, which is the same as going 90 degrees counterclockwise. So 270 clockwise is the same as 90 counterclockwise. And here you have the 6 rules for rotation, 3 for counterclockwise, 3 for clockwise. And I also showed you that we can rotate by using wax paper. On the wax paper, copy, trace the XY axis, draw an arrow to let me know which way is up. Then copy your points so that when you rotate the XY axis, you can bring back to the middle. And there's my new points. So last thing I will show you is how to measure the angle of rotation. Alright, we have over here our different shapes. We no longer have a graph. We don't have an XY axis. We have different shapes rotated along point X. The way to measure the angle of rotation is to first draw a line that connects the corresponding points to the center, meaning I drew a line from A prime to X, A double prime to X, from A to X, from A triple prime to X. Connect all the A's to the X. Next part we measure, and I've shown you how to measure protractors before. To measure a protractor, the hole of the protractor goes in the middle. I want to start from A, that's a pre-image. So I want this black line, let me zoom in. This black line to go on top of the line that goes for A over here. And we look, where does my other line go? Alright. This black line is pointing at 0. 0 is inside. So I can kind of look that we are at about 45 degrees from A to A prime. So from A over here to A prime that way, 45 degrees. And this is the counterclockwise direction. Now to find the clockwise direction, we have to go around the other way. If I go around the other way, notice, very sloppy, but this makes a full circle, and a full circle is 360 degrees. If you go all the way around, you make a 360. So if this full circle is 360, the counterclockwise is 45. To get the other direction, we can do 360 minus 45 to get me that. So this tells me if I go around the other way right here, this direction is 315 degrees. Clockwise. 315 degrees. And that's how you measure angle of rotation.